He told millions of people to stand up straight, to carry their burden, to face chaos without flinching. And then, his own body turned against him. The man who built a global movement around strength was suddenly fighting to survive. No lectures, no debates, no voice. Just silence. What happens when the man who teaches the world how to endure suffering becomes consumed by it? Because this isn't just a story about illness. This is a story about limits and what happens when even the strongest mind can't control the body anymore. Think about this for a second. Have you ever believed so deeply in something, only to watch it fail you when you needed it most? Hold on to that thought, because it sits at the center of everything you're about to hear. In 2025, reports began to surface that Jordan Peterson had been rushed into intensive care, not for a minor issue, not for something manageable, for something severe enough that for weeks he couldn't even communicate with his own family. The man whose words reached millions couldn't speak, couldn't respond, couldn't even explain what he was going through. And the scariest part? Most people didn't even know what had really happened. So how did it get here? To understand that, you have to go back to a quiet boy in Canada. Before the fame, before the controversy, before the millions of followers. There was just a kid sitting in a library, asking questions that most people avoid their entire lives. Why do people suffer? Why do societies collapse? Why do human beings destroy what they build? These weren't normal questions for a teenager. But then again, Jordan Peterson was never normal. He wasn't raised in luxury. There was no spotlight waiting for him. Just books, long winters, silence. And ideas that would eventually shape millions of lives. But here's something to think about. What's the first idea that ever changed the way you see the world? The one that made everything feel more complicated? Drop it in the comments. Because for him, those early ideas didn't just inspire him, they consumed him. They pushed him deeper, from political science into psychology. From understanding systems to understanding people. From the surface into the darkest parts of the human mind, and eventually into Harvard. By the 1990s, he wasn't just another academic. He was becoming something else. A thinker who didn't just study ideas, he made people feel them. Students didn't just attend his lectures, they remembered them. Because he wasn't teaching theory, he was teaching reality. Pain, responsibility, meaning. And for a long time, that was enough. But then something changed. In 2016, he uploaded a video. Simple, direct, no production. Just a man speaking into a camera. But what he said lit a fire. Within months, he went from professor to global phenomenon. Millions watched him. Millions listened. Millions felt like, finally, someone was saying what they had been thinking. And just like that, everything exploded. Fame, attention, pressure. Endless interviews, endless debates, endless expectations. And here's the part most people don't realize. Success doesn't remove pressure. It multiplies it. Let me ask you something. Do you think you could handle millions of people looking at you for answers every single day? Because that's exactly what happened. Books sold in the millions. Stages filled across continents. A voice that couldn't be ignored. But behind all of it, something was starting to crack. Slowly. Quietly. His health began to shift. Not dramatically at first. Just small signals. Changes in diet, extreme routines, physical stress. The kind of things people ignore until they can't anymore. At the same time, his personal life was under attack. His wife was battling a life-threatening illness. The pressure wasn't just public anymore. It was deeply personal. And now ask yourself this. What happens when someone is fighting a war in public? and another war in private at the same time? Because that's where things began to fall apart. In 2019, everything collapsed. Not metaphorically. Physically. What started as a prescribed medication turned into something much darker, a dependency, a reaction no one expected, and then withdrawal. If you've never heard about it, understand this. There are some withdrawals the human body simply does not handle well. This was one of them. The anxiety didn't just return, it multiplied. His nervous system began to break down. The man who spent decades analyzing suffering was now trapped inside it. Completely. Let that sink in. And be honest with yourself. Have you ever relied on something that later became the thing that hurt you? A habit, a routine, a belief. Because that's exactly what happened here. And what came next shocked everyone. His family took him out of the country, to Russia, for a treatment so extreme, many doctors wouldn't even consider it. Medically induced coma. Think about that. Not sleep, not rest, a complete shutdown of consciousness for days. He was gone, his body barely holding on. And when he woke up, he wasn't the same. He couldn't move properly. He couldn't function the way he used to. The man who stood confidently on stages around the world now struggled with basic coordination. And then silence. Months of it. No appearances. No lectures. Just questions. Rumors. Uncertainty. When he finally returned, people noticed something. The sharpness was still there, but something else had replaced the certainty. Fragility. A quiet awareness that there are limits that philosophy cannot override. But just as things seemed to stabilize, life had one more test waiting, and this one was even more unpredictable. In 2025, something ordinary happened. He was helping clean a house. Nothing dramatic, nothing dangerous on the surface, but inside that house, there was something invisible. Mold. Toxic, silent, unseen. And within weeks, his body reacted. Severely. What followed was a cascade of medical complications. Inflammation. Pneumonia. And eventually, sepsis, a condition where the body begins to attack itself. He was rushed to intensive care, and this time, it was worse. For nearly a month, he couldn't communicate. Not with the public. Not with his family. Not with anyone. The man whose voice shaped millions had no voice left. Think about that. Really think about it. What would you do if the one thing that defined you was taken away overnight? His daughter described it as a near-death experience. Multiple health crises. At the same time. Inside the same family. And for the first time in years, there were no answers. Just waiting, just hoping, just surviving. He eventually returned home. Alive. But not the same. Recovery wasn't a straight line. It never is. There were better days, worse days, and some days where progress felt invisible. Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Not everything responds to discipline. Not everything can be solved with willpower. Sometimes, the body makes the rules, and when it does, there is no negotiation. So what do you do then? What do you hold on to when the very tools that built your life stop working? Comment below. Because one day, every single person watching this will face that question, and there won't be an easy answer. Now, things are quieter. No constant spotlight. No endless debates. Just family. Recovery. Time. The kind of time you don't choose, but are forced to accept. And maybe that's the most powerful part of this story. Not the rise, not the fame, not even the collapse, but what remains after everything is stripped away. Because at the end of it all, what you're left with is not your success, not your ideas. Not your influence. It's your ability to keep going, even when nothing is working, even when there are no clear answers, even when the person you used to be feels far away. Jordan Peterson built his life teaching people how to face suffering. Now, he's living it, not on a stage, not in a lecture, but in real life. And maybe the most important lesson isn't in anything he ever said. Maybe it's in this: that strength isn't about never breaking, it's about what you do after you do. So here's the final question. When life takes away the thing you depend on the most, who are you without it? And more importantly, can you still move forward? Because in the end, the rules don't always save you, but the decision to keep going just might.